And if you just bring it back to the US, I'll just share a little about my history. Okay, here in the Silicon Valley, you don't wear a tie.
Yes.
Okay, when I go to New York, you have to wear a tie.
Yeah.
Okay, and when I was working for Dell, we had people come in to visit us in Austin, and we went to dinner. If they had a tie on, we actually cut their tie off.
Oh my God.
So think about just from geography to geography in the U.S., you have to understand the different cultures.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because it made me think of something I'd never thought of in context of this, which is one of the times I felt the most uncomfortable was when because I started a startup, founded a company, and it was so weird to me. I showed up the first day when I got into this accelerator in a suit and a tie and a very fancy like businessman acumen, and I showed up and everyone's in t-shirts and ripped jeans and flip flops. And I was like, oh my gosh, like what's going on? And they were like, what are you doing, dude? Like this is startup ecosystem. And it was, I understood then and started paying attention to the signals that are sent, like before you even open your mouth in startup community, like what you wear and how you kind of hold yourself, and actually having a t-shirt with your logo on it for your company sends a better message to an investor, a particular investor, right? Especially Silicon Valley, than a business suit. But I think it's such an excellent point that knowing that is actually just a part of business.
It definitely is. And so you're pretty sure the second day you didn't have the
Yeah,
suit.
yeah. The second day I threw the suit out, I was like, okay, no suit today. I think I couldn't quite get myself to a t-shirt at that point. So I think I still wore like a polo, kind of like a golf attire. I was like, I can't get there quite yet. Now I'm like in sweatshirts when I go places for startup stuff. I'm like, yeah, I've now absorbed that and I'm ready for it. Fantastic. Well, one of the questions you've recently, I don't know if it's recent, but you founded Be Business to Technology. What does that mean? And what is this company?
Yep. So it's actually bridge.
Bridge to Technology. Excuse me.
And so we coined the phrase B to T. And it really started with the whole thesis around global intellect and
Okay.
inclusiveness. And what we found out was, one of the companies that actually I was running a public company, and we actually did a management buyout and took it private. And at that point, it became a diverse company.
Interesting.
And so I needed to understand, what does that all mean about being a diverse company?
Yeah.
Now, most people will say, Eric, you're a black guy. How do you not know what a diverse company is? I said, well, I understand about my diversity, but what does a diverse company
Mhm.
mean? And so I end up bringing a group of people together about how do we actually understand how to move diverse companies forward and be productive, develop generational wealth, etc. And one of the things that came out loud and clear was that there was no technology that actually connected corporations and diverse companies and diverse talent together.
Mm.
And you can think about why that is, because here in Silicon Valley, it's probably, it's less than 5%, black, Latino in the valley. If you get to the C-suite or board level, it even gets smaller. So that diversity of thought just was never
Mhm.
there. And so that's how Bridge to Technology came about, was, okay, we will build the technology if everybody helps us build the ecosystem. And it's just been amazing, since we started this.
So tell me more about the technology. So what does it do? From what you've said so far, this is what I've gotten. It seems like it's going to help connect businesses, diverse businesses to diverse talent, and help other businesses who may not be diverse work with diverse businesses. Is that, am I following correctly here?
Yeah, no,
Okay.
you're absolutely, and that's kind of, I would say, the tip of the iceberg,
Gotcha.
right? So one is the connectivity. Some people call it matchmaking, but really doing it on a more professional level.
Gotcha.
So let's say that I have a diverse company, Bridge Technologies. You're able to have a profile of who you
Okay.
are. So not only about the company, it has your capability statements, it has about your management team. It really showcases who you are, videos, photos. So think about a platform that actually um, pulls all that
Gotcha.
together. I did an interview recently, and I said, if LinkedIn and Slack had a baby, this is what it would look like.
Very nice.
And so you think about just the matchmaking. Now the complexity of what's happening today and around the world is not just the
Hmm.
matchmaking. So then there's resources. So there's a whole module on resources, and that means mentorship, sponsors, access to
Yeah.
capital. That's one of the biggest issues is you finally get that order from the Fortune 50
Yeah.
company, and they say, we want to give you a $10 million order to buy furniture or to buy computers. Well, you don't have the working
Yeah.
capital to go do it. So access to capital intentionally designed for to scale um, diverse and small businesses.
I I love that. I want to zoom on the capital there because I think for me, when I hear capital as a founder in the startup space, I think of venture capital, right? Which, right, we know less than 1% of all venture capital goes to Black and brown folks, even less of that to women, right? So when we talk about capital, what capital are you speaking about? Is it same venture capital or is it something different for founders?
Across the spectrum.
Okay.
So, but there, whether it's angel investors, whether it's venture capital, whether it's private equities, or even the big banks providing debt. So you have that spectrum depending on the life cycle of where your company is. Now, there's companies that actually have impact funds, which means they're looking for diverse founders and diverse
Yeah.
companies, but they can't find them. How do you go find them, right? And then you have the startups like the one that you started. I'm ready to raise capital. How do I go find the venture funds and the angel funds that actually are focused on diverse founders?
It's such a chicken before the egg. Like I can see how this platform would be so helpful for founders because it is such a chicken before the egg. I talk to founders all the time, and I think one of the biggest things is like, okay, I have Facebook on the line, and they're ready to sign a deal. I can't execute this if I don't have the money. I can't even submit the security requirements that they're going to require for me to do it. So you go to the investor and you're like, hey, investor, like I'm ready. I have Facebook on the line. I should sign that. Okay, once you sign Facebook, come back to me. It's like by the time I come back to you, it's going to be too late. And I feel like the sentiment I've gotten from founders, they feel like they're on this Ferris wheel of constantly doing all the work, but just being spun up in all these different directions. So speak to that and how like you see that and how this is going to help those founders stop being on that wheel.
So absolutely. So one of the sections of the platform is a financial
Mm-hmm.
services section. So you actually build that relationship before you actually get the
That's
deal.
fantastic.
And so that's part of it. You talk to any of the VCs, you talk to any of the angel investors, the banks. It says, build that relationship first. That's easy said than done because I don't even know where to
Yeah.
find you, right? So now you start building the relationship, just like you would use a LinkedIn. You're building that relationship, or you're building any type of community um, platform. You're building that relationship, and you have to be able to have real meaningful conversation. Say, look, I'm pretty close to getting that deal with
Mm-hmm.
Facebook. Okay, I'm looking for working capital. So you start bridging that digital. I call that bridging that digital divide
Yeah.
early on. Other thing you'll be surprised is those investors can't find the
Yeah.
startups. So they have money. How do they
Yeah.
find you? They go to Google, they go to seminars, they go to conferences. That's old school, right? You got to use
Yeah.
technology because it could be anywhere around the world. You could be in London and they can't fly to see you. They can't go to the conference. So it really connects all of them on a digital platform.